Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much. Woo! That construction is something else. Anybody else have to come through 75? Ooh, I'm on sabbatical from I-75. Yes, I refuse to go any further past 696 or taking 94. Once it gets to 75, I'm done. No activities that way or north. However, today I do actually have to go north, so it's actually convenient that I'm already where I am with you today. So I'm actually very glad to be here with you. Any data chasers in the room? A few data chasers? Hello to the data chasers. I've been chasing data all morning. I got a great story for you. Oh, my chief people officer, we call chief people officer, some of you call CHROs. Any CHROs in the room? No CHROs. Dr. Lee, this is part of the problem.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, we talked about this.
We talked about this today. I'm sure you did. Some CHROs they're interested in the results, but sometimes not always comfortable with the journey that it takes to get there. Anybody familiar with that? So, hello to the data chasers. Let's talk about the journey this morning. Hello to my friends who are here, Darby, Sandy, others. Is James here? Is he gone?
Oh, he heard you were coming, Eli.
I'll get him next time. So, for those of you who don't know, I have spent many years with General Motors, and last year took my farewell to take on a new opportunity at Diebold Nixdorf. Diebold Nixdorf, you may not recognize the name of that company, but for any of you that have a little bit of money and happen to go to an ATM, you probably would see Diebold listed on that ATM. If any of you are sick and you have to go and get prescriptions, if you go to CVS and you do the drive up, and there's this little box that reaches out and slides out to you, we make those too. If you happen to go to IKEA and you're going to the self-serve kiosk, we make those. Believe it or not. If you go to McDonald's, and you know now McDonald's has a few less cashiers around the world, today they have this nice kiosk where you pick all the things that you want. You can even pay with your credit card right there, and all you do is wait for your food, right? We make those. So if you have a little something mixed in your mind about what Diebold Nixdorf is, we're a financial services company, and so we provide service tools and hardware, software, and service for companies who need to provide end-user services to consumers like yourself. Okay, so that's the company that I am at now, which is really fun for me because I like money and I like talking about it. I may not be alone in that. And so that's what I'm doing now. Spent a lot of time in my history with human resources and trying to understand human resources processes and to understand the data. When I started understanding the data, how it flows, where it goes, where it does not go, I found myself in a very interesting career path. I found myself in a career path that was very lonely 10 years ago. Very lonely. And I only knew a few people who love data more than me, particularly in HR. And one of them is here today, Dr. Darby Settles. Dr. Darby Settles, believe it or not, I met up 20 years ago. And 20 years ago, Dr. Darby Settles sat in an organization called Workforce Analytics. And that team was responsible for collecting all the headcount information around the company. And Darby did that with a miraculous 4 spreadsheets. He did. True story. True story. I can't make this up. 4 spreadsheets, and the most important one was the green one. If you didn't get the other 3 right, you had to get the green one right. And I was an intern trying to get a green headcount spreadsheet right for the 2,000 people in the plant where I worked to send to Darby Settles. It was before he became a doctor and all. So this is what it was like to chase data almost 20 years ago. And believe it or not, some people still love the spreadsheets. Isn't that amazing? So, for those of you who are data chasers, one of the things that we want to talk about today, and for those of you who are not interested in data chasers and what they do, you may be interested in the journey that it takes to get to some real actionable results. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So we'll spend a little bit of time understanding why are we chasing data in the first place? Just for the fun of it? No. What data answers are important to HR's questions and the business questions? And then where are we now and how do we define where do we want to go? And then one of the most important topics that I like to talk about is who helps you get there? What do those people look like? Do they have green spreadsheets in their pockets? Probably not. Let's talk about it. So, does anybody feel like this sometimes? When it comes to chasing data, like I'm gonna count to 10. And when I get to 10, I better find some data. And it better be good. Does anybody feel like that sometimes? Why do we feel like that? Why does it seem to be something elusive that we can't put our hands on, even though we're seeing it every day? Any questions? Any answers? Sorry, I got a question. You got the answer. Why? No English speakers, ¿por qué?
Because we can interpret data differently. Different people can interpret data.
People interpret data differently. That's one reason. Yeah. What else?
It's all over the place.
It's all over the place. Not organized in a way. Well,
It's an inundation of data. It may not
it's
be the right
too much
and
data.
it may not be the right data.
And it may not be the right data. So funny thing, true story. I just went through a huge HR system implementation, a core system. We just moved to a cloud-based system. And my leader was new to the company at the time we were getting ready to launch. And she said, what is so hard about making this implementation work? And I said, well, we have about 6.8 million pieces of data that we're trying to convert. 30,000 people in 64 countries. She said, oh. Said, any more questions? Yeah, she had more questions after that. But it's a lot of it. You're absolutely right. Any other reasons? Fear. Fear of what we don't know. Fear of finding out something that is contrary to what we already believe about what we think the data says, right? Absolutely, we're afraid. We're afraid of the outcome. I was interviewing with another company at a point in time. That time will remain nameless. But I was interviewing with another company, and one of the things that they were saying to me about what they were trying to do in their company is it was their goal to reduce the amount of people that was working in their customer service department. That was their goal. So they had to use a certain number of data sets, different elements to figure out where could they target reducing people. And the way they were doing that is actually by implementing innovative technology. That was their goal. And I said, well, if that's your goal, help me understand your hiring practices, because right now you seem to be hiring a lot of people. She said, yes, because we need smart people to figure out how to get rid of the other people. Now, they didn't say it like that. They were a little bit more politically correct, but I interpreted it, use my Detroit language, right? And I said, oh, that's what you're doing. I get it. Why are you trying to do that? Well, we're making a lot of money today, but believe it or not, we want to make more. So how do you make more money and use your HR department as a revenue generating department? These are the kinds of questions that organizations are trying to answer. So how do you do that? Anybody want to take a stab at what their strategy was? Say what?
It feels like it's online sales.
Feel like it's online sales. Very good. Very good. It's not just online sales, but part of the customers that they were serving were their employees. So when they thought about customers, they didn't just think about external customers, they thought about internal customers as well. And a lot of companies still today don't think of their employees as an internal customer base. But in this market where we have a war for talent, you need to think about your employees as customers, partners in a way, associates in another way, whatever you call it. They are people who come in and out of your workplace with an expectation of what they come in with and what they expect to walk out with.